We have terrorist organizations that have set up shop on American soil right here. They are living amongst us. They are working with us. Of all the terrorist organizations that have set up shop on American soil, and the top three are Al-Qaeda, Islamic Jihad, and Hamas. Hamas has the largest infrastructure on American soil. Hamas has cells in over 40 states in the United States. When people hear Hamas, they think Hamas is an Israeli problem. That's not my problem. That's those Jews' problem over there, 8,000 miles away. Hamas is here. And I'm going to name you some of the cities that Hamas has cells in. Hamas has cells in Boston, in New York, in Laurel, Maryland, in Potomac, Maryland, in Washington, D.C., in Herndon, Virginia, Springfield, Virginia, Raleigh, North Carolina, Boca Raton, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Philadelphia, Cleveland, Charlotte, Orlando, Tampa, Detroit, Houston, Texas, Columbia, Missouri, Plainfield, Illinois, Kansas, Chicago, Denver, Oklahoma, Arlington, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Tucson, Seattle, San Francisco, Santa Clara, Los Angeles, San Diego, Anaheim, Orange County, LA. They are right here amongst us. In their charter, Hamas charter, which was written in 1988 and made public, they talk about their enemy to be destroyed. Article 22 of the Hamas charter, and I'm going to quote you, quote, with their money, talking about their enemy, they created secret organizations that spread around the world in order to destroy societies and carry out Zionist interests. Such organizations are the Freemasons, Rotary clubs, Lions clubs, B'nai B'rith, and the likes. All of them are destructive espionage organizations to be destroyed. With their money, they've taken control of the imperialist states and pushed them to occupy many countries in order to exploit the wealth of those countries and spread corruption there, end quote. This is the Hamas charter. Now, how many good-hearted Lion Club members, Rotary Club members, Freemasons know when they wake up in the morning to go to their meetings to raise money to better their communities that they are mentioned in the Hamas charter as an enemy to be destroyed? Hamas, the largest terrorist organizations on American soil. Right here. The ignorance in our society is shocking. Hamas is not the only problem. Hezbollah is another problem. When you watch the news, and especially in the last year, when you watch the war in Lebanon between Hezbollah and Israel, and you watched how we were clearing out Lebanese citizens, quote, Americans, excuse me, American citizens coming to the United States who were trapped in Lebanon, Hezbollah has terror cells in the United States. Hezbollah has 11 cells in America. Our FBI arrested on American soil in the past few years 300 Hezbollah operatives. One of them was a general smuggled through the Mexican border. We know Al-Qaeda is working with the MS-13 gang, the notorious Mexican gang, in smuggling terrorists into our country, as well as Hezbollah. Al-Qaeda is paying between $25,000 to $50,000 per terrorist to be smuggled into our country. Per terrorist. Hezbollah is doing the same thing. They are coming here, they are breeding here, they're heading straight to the communities where there's a large Muslim concentration, such as LA, Florida, and Detroit. They are marrying Muslim women who are already here and breeding terrorists within our country using our legal system, obtaining the citizenship. I was talking to a friend of mine in Lebanon about a few months ago, and he was telling me that he was at a Hezbollah party in South Lebanon, in Bint Jbeil, and one lady was bragging about the business that she was having, and she was very proud of herself. And her business is, as an American citizen who has an American passport, her business was to marry Hezbollah members, terrorists in Lebanon, and bring them to the United States. She is charging them $25,000 per marriage certificate. She brings them here, they file their papers. When they get their papers, they get a divorce, she goes back and marries another one. And if she's doing this, how many other people are doing it? We have terrorists breeding in our country. If you live in America today, you have shaken the hand of a terrorist, you have exchanged money with a terrorist, you have maybe bought something from a terrorist, you have maybe sat next to a terrorist in a movie theater. They are all around us. And we need to open our eyes. The infiltration of our society is not only happening through the borders. It's not only happening through the Mexican border. The infiltration of our society is happening on every level. The second level is the mosques in the United States. Almost 90% of the mosques in America are completely funded by the government of Saudi Arabia. Completely funded by the government of Saudi Arabia. And what they are teaching in these mosques is nothing but hate education against the infidels, Christians and Jews. Thank God for a privately funded organization like Freedom House, the Center for Religious Freedom, who went undercover last year for 1 year. They went undercover and spied on mosques. And they collected over 200 books and publications in Arabic provided by the government of Saudi Arabia to these mosques to teach Muslims living in America how to deal with infidels living in an infidel land and how to behave with them. In these books and publications, and I'm going to quote you, in all these books and publications, these Saudi books repeatedly exhort Muslims to, quote, hate them for their religion, meaning us, Christians and Jews and atheists and Buddhists and everybody else, to hate for Allah's sake, always oppose them in every way, maintain a wall of resentment against them. They say that democracy is responsible for all the horrible wars of the 20th century, and that attractive names like democracy, justice, freedom, brotherhood, and equality cause all of the world's problems. This is what they're teaching in America, using our democracy to topple our democracy. They say that it is the religious duty of every Muslim to impose, and I continue quoting, functionally Islamic government on every country in the world. This religious duty is binding in principle, in law, in self-defense, in community, and as a sacred obligation of jihad. In order to fulfill the sacred obligation of jihad, they must, and I continue quoting, invade its western heartland and struggle to overcome it until all the world shouts by the name of the Prophet Muhammad and the teachings of Islam spread throughout the world. Only then will Muslims achieve their fundamental goal: all religion will be exclusively for Allah. This is what they are teaching in mosques down the street from your community. Don't be fooled, my friend, with all this talk about interfaith dialogue and all that nonsense taking place in English. You need to go in and see what they are teaching in Arabic. They are literally building an army, an enemy from within to topple our democracy from within. The problem not only in the mosques, but also in the private schools, in the madrasas, which is in Islamic schools in the United States. When you hear the word madrasas, you think Iran, Pakistan. That's when we hear the word madrasa is associated with. We have madrasas right here in the United States. One of the most notorious madrasas are in Virginia on the backyard of the White House. And what they're teaching young Islamic American students from kindergarten until high school, until 12th grade, they're teaching them that Christians and Jews are apes and pigs because they are cursed by Allah. They are teaching them, according to the Quran, that if there is a Jew behind the tree, go and kill him. Now, this hate education should not be tolerated in our country against any group of people. Absolutely none. This type of education should not be tolerated against anybody from any religion, from any color, from any ethnicity, from any background, from any nationality. Can you imagine how we will stand up and condemn if anybody would stand up and say or teach in any school that gays are pigs and blacks are apes? We would be the first ones to stand up and shut them up. Yet how come they let it happen in Islamic schools? We need to wake up and we need to be informed about what's happening in our country.